Welcome back to A Moment in History. I'm Seth Udinsky. In history, we often tend to remember political figures, and historical figures for that matter, by their physical features. So we remember Abe Lincoln's height, for instance, or Napoleon's lack thereof. Now, sometimes figures in history are literally named for their physical appearances, like the Frankish king and Holy Roman Emperor Charles the Fat. In this episode, let's explore a man who has been remembered in the history books for his physique, and like the aforementioned Carolingian ruler, he was exceptionally large. He would serve as the 27th President of the United States, William Howard Taft. Taft was born in 1857, too young to serve in the Civil War, much like his predecessor, Teddy Roosevelt. Taft was a skilled lawyer, and this would serve as a foreshadowing of perhaps his most famous service to his country late in his life, and it wasn't the presidency. Taft was also a politician, and he rose in the ranks in both the McKinley and Roosevelt administrations. He became the leading Republican man in the 1908 election, in which he defeated Democratic nominee William Jennings Bryan. Now, Taft was jovial and soft-spoken, which some historians argue did not serve him well in politics. In fact, he was once quoted as saying that his electoral campaign of 1908 was one of the most uncomfortable 4 months of my life. While not accomplishing much in terms of notoriety during his 4 years in the office, he served as a capable and competent leader of the free world. His leadership style was far softer than his bold, trailblazing predecessor, so he's most famous not so much for his political achievements in office, but for his interesting historical tidbits. Among these are the one we mentioned earlier, his size. He was by far the heaviest man to ever serve in the White House, weighing in around 350 pounds and earning him the nickname Big Bill. From his large size, a popular legend arose that he once got stuck in the White House bathtub. Now, there's not much evidence for this ever happening, but he did indeed have a much larger bathtub installed at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue to prevent such an occurrence from ever happening to him. Now, Taft's accomplishments, for which he was most proud, would come later in his life, long after his presidency ended. In 1921, he would serve as the 10th Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court up until his death in 1930, and he was personally far more proud of this role than he was as president. To this day, he is the only man in American history to serve as both Commander-in-Chief and Supreme Court Chief Justice. Thanks so much for joining me once again for A Moment in History.